Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Gaming the System, the podcast where three intersectional feminists examine gaming and games through a feminist lens. Today, I'm your host, Alex, and I'm joined by my friends Jem and Matt. Before we get started, if you want to support us, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/gamingthesystem for some exclusive content. Or you can send us a one-off donation via PayPal to our email address, wearegamingthesystem@gmail.com. We're going to be covering gaming genres this week, and we are joined by our lovely guest, Georgia. Hi, Georgia.
Hiya.
Hello. Hi. And we've got Jem and Matt with us as well. And so...
Hello.
Hi. What we're going to talk about, as I said, is gaming genres. And I don't know if we've ever discussed it in detail before on the pod. We have touched on it in a number of other episodes. But what I'd like to know from all of you to begin with, and feel free to jump in, any of you at any point, what genres appeal to you and why?
Well, I'd say that my favourite genres have had a bit of a shift recently. I very much, the game that I've absolutely clocked the most hours on over the course of my life would be the Sims franchise. So over like 1,500 hours on the Sims 4 and, things like that. And literally in the last couple of years, I've been picking up more platform games and especially more open world. I don't even know what you would call the genre, but like open world, I guess, RPG style.
Yeah.
Games. So yeah, it's been a bit of a shift for me recently, but that's where I've been playing a lot at the moment.
Cool. Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's interesting to think about how we kind of shift to and from genres depending on like what's going on in our lives as well. So like obviously when like from childhood I used to play quite a lot of, well, my sister definitely and I used to play a lot of The Sims as well. But I was also really into games like Tomb Raider, and then moved on to games in my teenage years, things like Assassin's Creed and Uncharted, and it kind of progressed from there. Always been into puzzle games as well. And I think also if we extend gaming beyond video games, we've always been a family that loves board games and competitive gaming as well as a family. So I guess if you were to include genres outside of video games, that would be another one that would appeal. But yeah, it's always interesting to pick up on kind of the early things that started you getting into gaming and kind of how it's progressed from there. Matt, what about you? Oh, sorry, Matt, you're muted.
Violence and puzzles.
Yes, an excellent combination.
And elegantly designed violence and puzzles, and stories that go on top of that. Because if you've got violence and puzzles and story, you can't really go wrong with that. And I started with first game I ever played was Hercules, when you're killing bags of straw and with the awesome soundtrack going on in the background. And then my next biggest thing was the first God of War in 2005. I remember seeing it in a magazine for the first time and just being blown away by it. And to show my age, there was a disc with demos on it. Yes. And I played the start of that, which was the opening level of Hydra and fighting the Hydra. And it was the most incredible thing I'd ever seen. And I think violence and puzzles really expresses what I needed. It reflects something that is missing in your life, I think, the kind of media that you consume. Because as someone who's very quiet and repressed, the chance to just be a violent monster is incredibly freeing and relieving. So that's I think that describes perfectly my taste.
Awesome. Jem?
I'm quite eclectic in my tastes. Just to give away my age, actually, my husband found a video of somebody starting up as a ZX Spectrum, which was my first computer, and just the sound of it. It's a very special sound. If you've never heard it, I advise you to go and check out YouTube or whatever and see if you can find a video of it, because it's a very special sound. But they were all text-based games. So for me, I think it's always been about having a story or some kind of depth to it. So I've never really been very good at the first-person games because I get quite motion sick, so they're always quite difficult, although I am very proud of having completed Doom or maybe Quake, anyway, one of those two, in the first one of those. But that's basically it. I don't tend to play a lot of first person games. I have recently started playing the Talos Principle, which is obviously not a violent game. It's off the back of you, Matt, recommending it, and it's a puzzly game, but I can only do puzzle. I get bored really easily. I just get bored really easily with all games. So I was just looking at my Steam list here, and I just sorted it by recent, and it's obviously Baldur's Gate, which has taken up the majority of this last year, and then Let's Build a Zoo, Talos Principle, Undertale, Outer Wilds, My Time in Portia, Plum Grove, Stardew Valley, and Disco Elysium, which I've picked back up again in the last couple of days. So I think that kind of says, but I definitely have spent a lot of time over the years on The Sims. I tend to pick it up, get totally sucked into it for about 3 months, and then get bored and drop it, and then pick it up again and have to get loads of extra and all the add-on packs and whatever new stuff's come out, and so all sorts.
Yeah, I've just recently started playing. I've actually completed it. The puzzle game A Little to the Left.
I've heard a lot about that.
It's really good. It's really chill. It's just basically a puzzle game, and sometimes it's about organisation. So there's like 2 or 3 different ways to organise objects, and like you can put things in drawers and tidy bookshelves, and all the way through there's this cat who occasionally their paw swipes across the screen and messes it up, and they'll do all sorts of things to cause a mischief. And it's basically just about doing puzzles with a cat, which is like the perfect chill game. And I'm really
if there's a cat, that's like definitely an appeal of a game.
Yes.
You can pet the cat.
I still need to play Stray. And I know it's been too long since it's come out, but yeah, that's definitely on my list.
Such a good game.
It's got robots and a cat with a little backpack in it. I'm like, yes, I need to play this.
Cat with a backpack's just one of those, like, a handful of words that is responsible for millions of people playing it, because they'll go, cat with a backpack, awesome! And then that's it. It could be a rubbish game, and millions of people would buy it because it's a cat with a backpack.
It's so good.
It's true.
So good. But yeah, it's interesting though, when we think about gaming genres and whether there's different audiences associated with them. This is something I kind of wanted to explore for this episode. So you've got kind of the kind of stereotypes that everyone thinks of when they think of like massive multiplayer shooters. They think of teenage boys, and if they think of what is a recent term, I think is cozy gaming, so the kinds of games we've just been talking about, puzzle games or games like Stardew Valley, they're more associated with maybe female gamers. I don't know, again, if this is just me looking at the broad strokes and being like, well, this must be this and this must be this. Or do you think it's deeper than that, and it really depends on just what we as people feel like playing at a certain point in time? Or do you think that there are certain swathes of the gaming audience that tend to prefer one type of game over another.
I think it's gotten better in recent years. If you think back to, I mean, my first console was the PlayStation 2. And I'm thinking back to the kind of games that were on PlayStation 2 and the way the female characters were represented, and it was definitely for a male audience. But I think that there's been improvement on that. I mean, the one of the games that's been a massive shift for me in terms of how I game has been Red Dead Redemption 2, which I actually picked up because I wanted a horse game. I wanted to just run around an open world on a horse, and it kept popping up on these lists. Or whenever you search like a nice little horsey, run around an open world and play with your horse kind of thing, Red Dead Redemption 2 keeps popping up. And I kept thinking, no, that's not for me. That's not for me. It's way too violent. It's all cowboys and westerns and hyper-masculine and people shooting each other. And it's definitely for a male audience. It's not for me. And I ended up picking it up on sale. And since January, I've sunk about 200 hours into it. You can't get me off it. It's so unbelievably amazing and immersive. But one of the things that really impressed me was Sadie Adler's story in Red Dead. And I don't want to give too much away in case other people haven't played it. But Sadie Adler is just this absolutely amazing, badass female character who's there all the way through the story. And she's just fantastic and really well written. And I wasn't expecting that in a hypermasculine Western game. So I think that there's definitely been improvement in that in recent years.
Mm-hmm.
If you want a nice chilled out horse riding game, you should try Elden Ring.
Okay.
I wouldn't call Elden Ring chilled out. It's so stressful.
It's got an awesome it's when you say horse game, I immediately went to that, and then so that's awesome. I have a question for three of you. The trend recently is male characters like Kratos who are incredibly the depth and emotional intelligence of them has changed recently. There are more male characters that are emotionally intelligent, that clearly feel deeply, and I wonder if that is something that female gamers are able to get a hook in there. Because when it's stereotypical Kratos from the past, I imagine it's easy to just go, oh, it's just another angry man guy. Whereas now, when there's more depth to them, which means there's less stereotyping. Mm-hmm. Does that make a difference?
Definitely.
Yeah, I think it definitely did for me playing God of War. I was so invested in like the emotions of Kratos and also Atreus, his son. I think also just because, a way to reflect on that is also like the developers have grown up as well. The people that were making the games when they first came out were obviously of a certain age and mostly male, and those same men have gone on to make some of them have made these newer games, and they've become like, a lot of it was inspired, obviously the first new God of War. Cory Barlog said it's basically about his journey as a father and a reflection on that. A lot of the story was inspired by that, so I think in some ways it's to do with the lives of the developers and how they may or may not have matured, but tapping into that maturity and that life experience is appealing to a lot of different people on a lot of different levels. And that's kind of, I think I was a lot more invested. I'm always really invested in stories that can hook me in emotionally. And I think God of War does a brilliant job of that, for sure.
I think it's powerful for female audiences, but I think it's also really powerful for male audiences. The male mental health crisis and the way that men are always portrayed in a certain way. I think it's really, really powerful for boys. I'm a teacher, so I work with younger students who will play all kinds of games, and I think it's so powerful for the boys that I teach to have role models in the games that they play who are, in touch with their emotions and emotionally mature and just like complete whole characters and not just, what it might have been in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really important point, that we're sort of seeing depth to characters where the male characters can have emotions and the female characters can be angry. You know, this is all good stuff really, for especially when it's these sort of younger generations that are usually playing these things. I just wanted to actually go back to your comments about Red Dead Redemption, Georgia, because it's really interesting that you said that about picking it up because you wanted like a chill game where you could ride a horse. Because I was looking for cozy games the other day on Reddit, and Red Dead Redemption was recommended on multiple times as a cozy game. And loads of people said it doesn't seem like a cozy game on the surface, but actually once you get into it, it really can be. And I think talking about like games that are kind of targeted at what people think is like the classic audience, which is generally young male, is in some way perhaps underselling games, because I would have dismissed Red Dead Redemption for all the reasons that you gave, Georgia. And I think that it's really interesting to see that perhaps it's not just about the content of the games. It's actually about how they're marketed, how they're sort of what the advertising campaigns are around them, and what impression that gives of the game, excluding certain people.
Definitely, I completely agree. I mean, my sister and I were having a giggle because I've got most of my gaming I do on my PC, but I do also have a Switch for when I'm, on the go. And I recently picked up Red Dead 1, which I haven't played yet, on the Switch. But my sister and I were having a right little giggle because on the little icons that come up when you choose between your games, all of my games have a similar kind of colour scheme where they're all kind of blue and cheerful and like lighthearted. And then bang in the middle of that is Red Dead Redemption with its like bright red background and like the scowling male character with his hyper-masculine traits on the front. And I would just, from that image alone, I would never have picked up that game if I hadn't have found it on those cozy game lists, the same as you.
Wow.
I think the term cozy game is interesting, because I think that is a bit of a misnomer as well, because it conjures images of Candy Crush or Stardew Valley and stuff like that. Whereas when like the opposite of a cozy space is most online gaming forums. So when a woman picks up and the second she speaks online is going to get assailed by a group of dickheads, and that makes it an uncozy environment. But something like Red Dead Redemption, the main character is incredibly sensitive and emotional in that way of men who are trapped in that masculine role but still clearly feel incredibly deeply, and they're trying to make sense of that. So when you go into that world, it is a safe place to go, because you know that the main character is dealing with their emotional depth. So you know that you're not just going to be assailed by a man and go, aha, now you go and kidnap this wench and carry her off into the sunset. You know that you're going to be able to settle into a game. And I played Red Dead Redemption 2 as well. And it's stunning. It really is stunning in so many different ways. And I felt all the way through like you're in control. You're in command of this. And you can do anything you want. And that's something that I find very cozy.
A follow-up question on that then. We've talked about what things appeal to us for genres and what makes us feel cozy and comfortable. What makes a genre or a particular game less appealing for you? And is there anything that makes a genre less appealing for female gamers, theoretically, do you think?
That's an interesting question, because actually since playing Red Dead 2 and a few other different games, I've found games that are targeted at female audiences less appealing now. Like I've found that it's very hard to go back to The Sims now. And I think that one of the difficulties I'm having is a lot of the games targeted at female audiences seem to be just lower quality, like quite buggy, or just don't have as many features, or they're just quite simple. And I'm just like, I want more. Like, I've played this incredible, like Matt said, you can do anything in Red Dead, and it's just outstanding. And I mean, a classic example. I said I wanted it because I wanted a horsey game.
Yeah.
I picked up Red Dead Redemption 2 on sale for £20, and with that you get a complete experience of taking care of your horse and travelling in this open world and literally doing anything, and that's such a minor part of the game. I also bought The Sims 4 Horse Ranch for £35 DLC just to add horses into the game, and it doesn't scratch the surface of what you can do in Red Dead with a horse. And I'm finding that I think actually games targeted at female audiences need to do better.
That's such an interesting point.
I think there's a part of the problem in that.
Sorry, Matt, go on.
I think that the best games seem to be ones that are they're making an awesome game that they want to make because they've got awesome ideas to do that. And that's where stuff like Red Dead Redemption comes in, where it's not a game, you'd think it's targeted towards people, but it actually is just what it is. And that means that it can be the quality that they want it to be. Whereas you'll probably find that most of the games and add-ons that are targeted at women, they're targeted at a stereotype of women, and the people developing those games and making those decisions are men. So it's doomed to fail, that loop of things. So, and plenty of women love horses. Plenty of women couldn't give a shit about horses. And so they should be making horsey games because they want to.
Yeah.
Whereas when they try and target women, I've been researching old magazine articles about how games are marketed to women and girls, and there was this one that was like nothing but pink and horses and hair salons and clothing, and just go, God, who wrote this? And so yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah, the struggle is real.
So we've talked about appeal in genres. Last thing I want to touch on is what makes a genre accessible and what makes it less accessible to you. And accessibility could be anything you want it to be, really. For me, I think I definitely find fighting games quite inaccessible, just because of the way the control schemes work and the amount of button mashing you have to do. My hands get really, really tired. Even in some of the more modern RPGs, like, for example, Baldur's Gate, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to say the text is really, really small and the maps are really, really hard to read, and all of the books are really hard to read in it as well. But that doesn't mean that I don't enjoy playing it. It just could be a little more accessible for me. Trying to think what else. I'll think of some more probably what you guys discuss, but those are just ones off the top of my head. Particular genres are pretty tricky sometimes.
Yeah, it's tricky because it really depends on the kind of access that people need.
Yeah.
Because I think it was on either the Seeability website or the RNIB website saying that accessibility and disability aren't. It's not a disabled person's problem that they can't do something. It's the people who are responsible for making something accessible.
Yeah.
They haven't been given tools that they need to do things. And so there's infinite resources about all the different kinds of access of disabilities and access issues. And there are answers out there for all of them.
Yeah.
And it is just galling that these game companies, there's literally only two of them, which is Sony Santa Monica and Naughty Dog, that have had the creative vision to actually find these things and implement them. Because at any point, I think about this quite often, You say anyone can acquire a disability at any time, a new disability. We acquire disabilities as we age. And I think about what needs to change in gaming in order for everyone to relax and go, I'll be able to play what I want to play in the way I want to play it. And it's such a shame, because with such very simple implements like a slow motion mode, a single button combat mode, all of these things would solve so many problems straight away. And it's just another one of those things where there's a problem, we've got the answers, but they're not bloody using them.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm on the same page with you, Alex, with the text being too small, and I'm dyspraxic, so that's a motor coordination disability. And I find different button combinations can be really, really tricky. Yeah. It took about 12 hours for me to get the sus of Red Dead. I mean, on speaking about games that do it well, one of the other breakout games for me into the platforming genre was Sonic Frontiers. And one thing that I loved about Sonic Frontiers is that in the loading screens, it takes you into a kind of a blank space where you can practice the different moves, and it reteaches you the moves. So every time you're loading between different things, you're practicing the different button combinations, I guess. And for me, it gives you something to do in a loading screen, which always a benefit. But for me, who really struggles with getting the right combination of buttons, it was a way of just getting that repetition in that meant that I could then actually play the game and complete it and feel really proud of myself.
Oh, that's so good to know. Yeah. It's interesting because I think games do a lot more with loading screens these days than they used to. Although it's weird though, because in the olden days there were more loading screens than there are now. But yeah, interesting.
I mean, I think that it isn't just about supporting gamers with disabilities. I think it's just about generally making gaming less elitist. I think we've talked before about the idea of sort of the negative associations with playing on easy mode or using any of the things that can make gaming easier. And I think that the whole point of gaming is to have fun, and you set your level of challenge at the level that suits you. And I totally agree with what you were saying, Jojo, about sort of games that are aimed at women being simpler and less well designed and less well coded, and they also generally have less challenging. So there is this idea that the hardcore elite gamers, they want it to be as difficult as possible so they can go out there and they can say, I did this amazing thing. But the reality is that actually these aren't a job. They're not a competition. We're not. I mean, I know people do compete against each other, but plenty of us play these games just for fun, just because we're just passing time. And I think what we need to do is get rid of this idea of this sort of elitist attitude towards gaming and move into an environment where it is okay to select one button combat. Or I recently played a game where you could turn off the fishing mini game, which was basically like one of these ridiculous things where you had to press the thing at exactly the right moment to get the fish, and it was just very frustrating, and I felt really guilty for turning it off. But I was just like, I don't have the time to spend doing that and failing all the time like I do in Stardew Valley. It's just it's those are the sorts of things that will make me stop playing a game. So I think it's about providing more settings, more options so that we can tailor our gaming experience, and within that we would be able to support people with all sorts of abilities. My ability to mash buttons is hampered by my increasing age and so I've moved away from those kind of games because I don't enjoy the fights. I enjoy the challenge of it, but I don't enjoy just dying over and over and over again. So
I think that's a really good point about elitism as well, and that's something that I've noticed as a teacher. A lot of the younger students, or the students at my school, all of them are under 16. They're all playing 18 plus games. And they're playing games that I would have said were like, obviously some older games are fine, but they're playing games that I would have said are completely inappropriate for 12-year-olds, or they're watching these games on YouTube. And I think that elitism comes into it, because they are seeing these YouTubers and the people that they're watching on social media who are perpetuating the kind of culture that you're talking about. And they're thinking that the age-appropriate games are actually not cool or not for them, and that they need to be playing these AAA 18-plus kind of games. And then we have a knock-on effect with that, with, we've got a mental health crisis in young people, and it probably doesn't help if they're accessing things that they probably shouldn't be accessing. But if we made the kind of games that are appropriate for them cool again, and told them, hey, it's okay to just play a game because you enjoy it and not because you think that you should be speed running this, GTA or something like that, then that would, I think, benefit a lot of younger people as well.
I think it comes down to young people need, and they have access to different kinds of role models now, where there are plenty of people who do like, oh, you need to get good and be a gamer bro and play it on ultra hard difficulty. And then there are people who just go, I'm just going to play a bit of this game and see if I enjoy it. And that depth of stuff is really important. I think the other side of the elite coin that needs to change. So you've got the elite side, which is the audience, and there is the egomaniacal, like creative arrogance, having your head up your arse of the game industry, that has been so perfectly crystallized for me with playing the new Hellblade game, in that it's just limp. It looks amazing, but it looks amazing because of the Unreal Engine, not because of the designers in particular. And it just screams just them going, oh, this is our magnum opus. This is just. And that is the worst thing for creative people, to have their head up your own arse, because it's the enemy of progress and diversity and freedom and relaxation. You go, oh, you're going to walk slowly through this game so you can truly appreciate the majesty of what we're doing. And you go, I've had to hold down the L button to walk slightly faster for 5 hours because you want us to walk slowly through your beautiful game that you've spent 7 years making is only 5 hours long. And there's no accessibility features with it. And you go, come on, you've had 7 years. And at not one point did you take your head out your ass to go, oh, should we maybe think of maybe doing something that isn't us inventing the wheel? And that grinds me so much.
There we are then. Well, does anyone else have anything they would like to share before we bid our listeners and or watchers farewell? It's okay to say no. At that point, I think we shall bring this episode to a close. This has been Gaming Genres. I hope you've enjoyed. If you have anything you'd like to share, comment below, message us on our various platforms, and we usually have an episode every Thursday as well, so keep your eyes peeled for one of those. And we will be doing our live show is it a Sunday? Saturday the 15th of June 2024 in Chichester for the Chichester Fringe, and we're very much looking forward to it. So if you're local to the area, come and see us. We'd love to see you. Thank you very much, everyone, for taking part in the episode. Thank you so much, Georgia. You've been a brilliant guest, and we look forward to having you back for another episode very soon. And thank you very much, everyone, for watching and listening. See you soon. Bye.
We hope you enjoyed that episode of Gaming the System. If you want to support us, you can donate to us through our PayPal by sending it to wearegamingthesystem@gmail.com if you want to send us a one-off donation. If you want to donate to us monthly, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/gamingthesystem. Until next time, bye-bye.